All right, welcome back. I'm Paul Hodowanic from PGATour.com, staff writer. I'm not always here. The guy that is always here is right next to me. That's Rob Bolton, at least next to me on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Rob, how we doing? Swanee seems to be just taking all these big weeks off. He wants to give me the Masters. He wants to give me the PGA Championship. Now he's giving me the U.S. Open. Maybe I have an idea why, PGA Tour Live related, but really he's not showing up for these big weeks, and we're still here. We're constant.
Don't worry, we'll let them know about it. Secondly, obviously you're built for it, so here you are. But thirdly, I think, not that I'm counting, but this is the fourth consecutive time you've lost a bet and have to sit in with me. So sorry about that, but since we're together, we might as well talk about the U.S. Open. Good to see you, bud. Seriously, though.
Yeah, no, good to see you as well. It feels like we've had similar conversations every time we jump on here because there's one constant in men's golf, and that's Scottie Scheffler, who's number one on your power rankings. I'd be surprised if I could find someone ranking golfers anywhere that doesn't have Scottie Scheffler number one. He's just automatic at this point, unless you just are really, really trying to go the other way to get some clicks. But feels like I'd take any odds for Scottie Scheffler to win because it's hard this moment as we speak Tuesday to see another outcome.
I just keep nodding. I mean, you're right. Yep, we know. Yep. He's actually, as we're speaking on this recording on a special Tuesday, plus 333.
Okay.
So he's given back to a little bit. Yeah, crazy. There is, though, the market. BetMGM has the not everybody but Scottie Scheffler to win, and Xander Schauffele leads that at plus 900. On the full board, he's plus 1,100. So there's about a 200 gap there for most of the golfers up and down the board, if not all of them right now. So it's crazy. It's just crazy. He plays well everywhere. We're in the same business. It almost feels like this is a writing contest for how can you write about him without sounding like you're hyperbolic about his talent. Like, every time I think about a lead this week was, when does he start giving strokes? I'm sure I'm behind the rest, but I told you this last time. I always start at the bottom and go up. Like, he still has to go execute. Yep, he's doing that too. So it's just the Scottie Scheffler show, man. We're just blessed to be able to watch it, blessed to be alive when he's out there performing. And we'll just see how he goes out there and competes this week. Even when he has triple bogeys, he figures out a way to win. It's just phenomenal. So we'll enjoy it. As long as this lasts, we'll continue to enjoy it. What else can you say?
Yeah, and I mean, we've said all this before, but it's on every type of golf course. It's Bay Hill, it's Augusta, it's TPC Sawgrass, it's Memorial, and so
it's Tiger again is what it is. For the younger generation that didn't get to see Tiger in his prime, you're getting to see that, minus the intensity, minus the histrionics when he sinks a putt on the 14th hole, not the 18th hole. Obviously, he still shows some of that. It's that minus a lot of that extra, and so us obviously gives you some sense of how impactful Tiger was at his height. Scottie is doing that in the executional standpoint.
And from a betting perspective, is that number just so low that it's just hard to even consider?
Well, so I write points and payouts every Sunday after a tournament concludes. And this last week after he won, it was the fourth. So he's won 5 of his last 8. His last 3 victories, he was plus 400. He's made 13 starts. If you had bet him to win each of those 13 and bet exactly $100 for all 13, that's a $1,300 lay. He has, in the 5 victories, his aggregate winnings is 2,400. Again, just straight odds. So you would be up 1,100. He's outpacing the market, which already seems incredibly low. I don't know how you talk anybody out of it. It's just nice that he's still on the board for us. And so he's got to be on your card. It's the U.S. Open. You're going to want to diversify, but he has to be part of it.
Again, it's a golf course that even if Scottie wasn't playing really well, he would stand out as a fit for in terms of what it requires, in terms of just amazing distance control. And then if you do get out of position, a short game that can get you out of it. That's exactly what we'd expect from Scottie Scheffler. And it feels like it's going to be, from everything we've heard, Wyndham Clark on Monday called the greens borderline. Everyone's saying it's really, really hard. That, again, sets up for Scottie Scheffler. And I want to kind of transition to that, the course aspect of this. We obviously saw it 10 years ago, kind of how it looks now with the new renovation that came in. So we have 1 year, albeit 10 years ago, before distance was maybe as paramount as it is now. And I'm looking at it and I'm trying to decide where that winning score is going to be. I'm not sure if there's a betting odds for that yet that we've seen, but where is your sense about where we might net out and how difficult this might be?
Well, we saw Martin Keimer run away with it 10 years ago, and that was on bent grass greens. Now it's the ultra dwarf Bermuda grass. First time ever Bermuda has hosted the U.S. Open. I couldn't believe that when I read that. That's remarkable. So that's going to bring in some of the guys who are more familiar with playing on that grass. And that was baked into some of the work this week and some of the analysis. And I like that for some of the guys that maybe aren't playing very well when they get back. It's a little bit like the Florida swing. The guys go to Florida and suddenly they find their game. They're more familiar on that grass. So that's a component that plays way up. As far as the overall score, these greens are small. They're average in size, but they play small because of the runoffs. You just need one of these top-tier talents to go low. It's a par 70. I think 7 or 8 under would be aggressive. Might require 66 in there type of thing, and then hang on and maybe get a 69 or something like that, and you get the 5. I mean, it's still going to. I still think if the over under is, let's say, 6.5, that's fair. 6.5 under par.
I think it's around that number. I think it was Tiger that said it may be the low score that we get on the first round ends up being around the winning score on the final day. It's going to be one of those tests that just gets harder. So we may get some low scores day one, but that, as the golf course progresses, as the greens get less and less receptive and more bouncy and firmer, which seems hard to believe based on the reports we're getting, but that sounds like the way it may trend. When you go through your power rankings, it's, for this type of test, it's all the horses. You've got Collin 2, Xander 3, Rory 4, Bryson 5, Matt Fitzpatrick 6. Kind of take me through how you formulated that top kind of end of your power rankings. Some of the maybe minutia of picking a Collin over a Xander, but also just what you looked for in that top tier group.
Yeah, first of all, you bring up a great point about Memorial last week in Muirfield Village. I wrote about this in the power rankings. I know Jack Nicklaus wants to send the tournament back to its customary role the week of Memorial Day, and for lots of reasons, and he's Jack Nicklaus. However, I am really curious how the golfers who played last week and played well and play this week and play well come out of this week with their rhetoric in terms of these two tournaments in consecutive weeks. It's not going to be the model moving forward, but they may be talking about how well Muirfield Village can set up for a U.S. Open that's difficult, like this week's will be. You know, there are power brokers involved that will supersede the notion of doing this again and fair. But I'm genuinely curious what the takeaway will be, because the guys who played well this week on a difficult course should play well this week on a difficult course, and that's baked into the power rankings. Scheffler at the top. Collin Morikawa was number 3 last week. He's number 2 this week. Finished second. The only guy to really put heat on Scottie at Muirfield Village. Solo second. Xander at number 3. First start as a major champion. Last week, he's now first major start as a major champion. Have him slotted at 3rd. He always plays really well. I mean, full stop. But especially in the difficult courses, especially at this time of his career, now the monkey's off his back, so he can freewheel it if he wants and be smart. And he can now win consecutive majors just like that. So that's what he's chasing. Got Rory McIlroy at 4. Again, really strong season. That might be a little high, but he's the lowest of the top 4 is the way I'm looking at that. If you look at those 4 guys specifically, that subset of the field, Bryson DeChambeau at 5, a couple top 5s, T6 at the Masters, and then a runner-up at the PGA Championship. And then Fitzpatrick, he was the last U.S. Open champion, only 2 years ago, but last U.S. Open champion to make this tournament his PGA Tour breakthrough victory. Obviously won abroad. I understand that, but nevertheless went into the history books 2 different ways just 2 years ago. And then coming off a really strong finish last week at Muirfield Village, again, where he played well, and he can just roll right into this week. There's no break this time. They went into last week with a fortnight perspective. We talked about it last week. I wrote about it. Those same guys, top of the power rankings, expecting them to play well. It would shock me if they don't. It would probably be 1 or 2 holes. That's all it would take, obviously, in this golf course, and it's out there waiting for him.
Another guy, top 5 at Memorial, but a little bit further down in the power rankings, that's Ludwig Åberg. What had him at 11, Still a good spot, but we know based just on talent, he could be higher than that.
I love your fight for the guy. He definitely has earned it. And no, the PGA was. I don't mind failure in the majors. The fact that he has failed only once in the majors. Granted, he's made only 3 starts. He's playing all of them for the first time this year. I'm just respecting the fact that he is so new at this, and not to overlook the talent above him in the power rankings. Those guys belong in those spaces as well. Sure, you could make an argument, and yeah, sure, he's in top 15 in a field of 156. Not all of them are going to be contenders, of course. You would rule out many of them, dozens of them, if you'd like. And Aubert is going to be right there, but he has all the talent. He's just so smooth already, so quickly, so fast in his career, so soon in his career. I love the shiny new toys just as much as the next guy, but I tend to play conservatively, especially when it comes to the fact that a lot of these guys have more experience. So until he gains some more experience, Collin Morikawa was a little bit like that when he came on 5 years ago, and he came on really strong, and he deserved to climb a little bit higher into the power rankings. Let's give Ludwig a little more time before he cracks the top 10 on a regular basis.
All right, one of your sleeper picks, Tommy Fleetwood for a top 5. What do you like about Tommy coming into this week? I mean, he top 5s.
Yeah.
This is kind of the story. We don't have him as a sleeper for winning, but we have him as a top 5 sleeper. I think it makes sense, but explain to me why you have him there.
Yeah. What I like about Tommy Fleetwood in the top 5, the answer is yes. What's not to like? 7 top 5s in the majors in his career. Still chasing that first PGA Tour victory. When I mentioned Matt Fitzpatrick earlier, I was thinking of Tommy Fleetwood. He's in that same lane, yet to break through on the PGA Tour specifically. Always playing in the deepest fields. This is one of them. Coming off a couple, he's had a victory earlier this year. Podium finish at the Masters. There's no let up in his game. Has incredible short game. He's one of the 4 in the sleepers specifically. With a very high ranking in bogey avoidance. I encourage viewers to go check that out. 4 of the top 5s this year, Paul, have come through for me. And S.H. Kim almost did. If it wasn't my outright, I did acknowledge a top 5. Maybe it may have been a better play of the week. He had a top 5, so it could have been 5. But Fleetwood, I may be the most confident about of all of the top 5s I've had this year, just because of all of the trajectory he's bringing from all the angles that matter at Pinehurst this week.
I want to end this way. When going into Valhalla, I think we talked about how it felt like only a certain number of guys could win, maybe 5, 6, just based on how the course was set up. Long, rough, soft. That was going to bring you to a Scottie Scheffler, a Xander, a Rory, a Collin, some of these guys that we saw up there. How are you trending this week in terms of how open the field is? Maybe if we're, Scheffler aside, if you can do that, but just like, if you're bringing it open, does this feel like a tournament where only 5, 6 guys can win? Or because of how the golf course is set up, how tough it is, you could see this extending a little further out?
Yeah, I think you're looking like at about 20. And I think the betting board reflects that really nicely. I looked at the middle of the board for Shane Lowry as my outright sleeper at plus 8,000. I couldn't find anybody longer than like 5,500 that I really loved, but I wanted to get out there. Wyndham Clark was plus 8,000 last year, and he won the U.S. Open. But when par is a good score, that brings the field closer together, and the talent is so strong in the field, you expect a lot of the guys to hang around longer, and so we should see just a crazy leaderboard come Sunday. But the way the course is set up, whoever has the lead, maybe like after the 15th hole, probably will win, as long as he pars in. Obviously, that's the qualifier there. So it's going to take that steadfast and looking at experience. I don't see a first-time winner, even though I'm touting, Fleetwood is for a top 5. He's not an outright. Lowry's the outright in that. I'm not looking for a first-timer because it's going to require that kind of grit that guys haven't had before in this space. Looking at a guy probably with a previous major, maybe with a victory already this year somewhere in the world because he's tasted that victory. Lowry again qualifies for that. So that's the angle I'm looking at. But he's going to have to be able to keep the ball in front of him. Fairways are wide and welcoming, but they're going to have to be positioned well off the tee as well. So guys who come in with confidence, striking the ball with full shots, that's the crowd. And again, we're talking about a lot of those same guys. So while you had opened the show by saying that distance may not have mattered as much in 2014, the guys that are hitting it long and beside each other all the time in the fairway, that's a much greater list. But they don't have to hit it that long, even though the fairways are open this week. It's gonna be really about course management and experience and patience and all those sorts of things that they've been through before. That's the subset.
I just can't wait for this major. This is probably the most excited I've been about one this year, just because for the golf course. We don't see golf course.
Paul.
We don't see golf courses like this a ton on the PGA Tour with the sandy soil, the waste areas. I'm excited to see the trouble that the guys get in and how they get themselves out. Tiger seems to think we're going to watch some guys putt off the green. I'm intrigued about that. Yeah. We could see some guys embarrassing themselves, which maybe not so fun for them. It's fun to watch for us and to analyze. It's going to be a stressful physical test. It's going to be super hot. It's going to be super mentally draining. Like, the guy who wins is going to have survived a lot of stuff. So I'm excited to see who could be put up to the test. My sleeper, by the way, in case anyone wants to know, that's John Swantek. I think he may be sleeping all week. So that's my sleeper for the week. Nice. But John will come back next week and rightfully, hopefully, gives me a little needling back. So, Rob, thank you for letting me, I guess, take my normal spot now in the majors. I seem to be doing this every time we get to one of these big weeks. Thank you for your insight and all your hard work. I'm excited to see what you produce this week as well. Thanks, Rob.
Hey, buddy. Thanks again. I'll catch you next time, whenever that is. See ya.